it's very easy to get comfortable. And I think every man chooses what they stand for. And if we want to stand for something, we also need to choose things that we don't stand for. And most men, what happens for them is like, because they have the apps, on a surface level, they think, oh, I have other options, but they're not getting results from the apps, so they don't. But they feel like they have options. And that prevents them from going up and speaking to that girl in the coffee shop, in the grocery store. Whereas my approach is a bit more militant in the sense that you don't have other options anymore. You either approach this woman or you're not meeting woman. Which one do you want? And that really pushes people to take action.
D-Town, LA, NO, Florida, Mississippi, KC, MO, show them what you stand for, show them what you stand for, show them what you stand for. Chi-Town, Tennessee, Carolinas, Alabama, Oakland, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta, show them what you stand for, show them what you stand for.
What up, world? Welcome everybody to the Kings Can Move On podcast. We got your extraordinaire Frank the Tank, aka Big Reno, in the house.
And it's the other half of this joint, your boy Lil J, aka Wood. Welcome to the KCMO podcast, everybody. Welcome back to another episode. Like I always do at this time.
Yes, sir.
Remind you, if you listen, if you're watching, go hit the subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the follow button. Give us all the love that you can share with us. We
love us, love us, love us, love us, love us.
We need it. We need it.
Speaking of love,
Speaking of love.
This is gonna be a lovely episode, right? This is for the gigolos who want to date as many women as they possibly can. Go ahead and introduce our guest today, Jay.
So we've talked to we had a love coach on last season, the great Miss Ashley White, and we've also had some couples, some singles. We had a battle of sexes, but this time we have a young man that is a dating coach that's going to talk to us about helping young men date. So I want to welcome to our show, Mr. Ege Reynolds. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, guys. Good to be here. That was
thanks for being on.
Start. Excited to speak.
We're gonna need your this part of the week gonna need your help, brother, because I ain't dating this. That cat got a relationship. She in a relationship. He ain't thinking about shit. I'm the one that needs your help, man. Help me, help us.
All right, let's do it, man. What do you want to talk about? I'm open to anything.
Well, let's do it this way, Ege. So let's start about this whole dating coach thing. Why don't you give us a little glimpse into what that looks like? What's a dating coach for you? What's it look like?
Yeah, I think when it comes to a dating coach, tons of people have different associations. Usually when I speak to people, they're like, oh, so you're kind of like Hitch, which used to be cooler before that whole Will Smith thing happened. And now it just feels like an insult. But what I do basically is I grew up where I was like very addicted to video games, quite overweight, didn't have much confidence. And over time, the way I found my own authentic self and my ability to connect with people was through speaking to women I was intimidated by. And I did that for quite some time, and eventually it turned into a business. So dating coaching for me is more of the bait for men on the front end, because I find for a lot of men, we all know there are areas that we want to improve in. But if you go to a guy and you go, hey man, maybe do some healing work, work on your mindset, work on some beliefs, or be more social with people, they'll be like, yeah, I'll do that one day. But if you tell them, hey, let me show you how to meet the woman you want to meet and how to go on those dates, they're like, yep, that's what I want. Right. So I basically use that as the bait to help men do the real work on themselves while dating cool women in the process.
So you're appealing to our primal instincts.
Exactly.
Find a mate and then do a little get our mind trick and making us actually work on ourselves in the process. Is that what you're saying?
Right, because a lot of people think like, oh, if I work with a dating coach, he's going to tell me what to say, how to tell a good story, how to be playful, which are things we all talk about.
Mm-hmm.
But what I found is a lot of the communication is without the words, how we speak, how we carry ourselves, how we
Mm-hmm.
come off, like how do we carry ourselves when we walk into an environment. And the core of that is the belief system we have about ourselves and about the world. And from that, everything just manifests. So if a guy has beliefs where there's fears around women, there's insecurities, then that's where he's going to be speaking from. So it's a combination of showing guys how to communicate in an attractive, charismatic way, but also having them look into their mind and their belief systems so they have more productive beliefs around dating.
You know, that's interesting, man, because I can tell you from the time I was a kid, I've always been an outgoing cat, but when
Mm-hmm.
it comes to meeting women, I've always been like really shy, really,
Mm-hmm.
really shy. Like because I don't know if I just didn't like the rejection part of it or whatnot, but yeah, it didn't. Sometimes I even still get that way with as far as meeting women. So.
Mm-hmm. So how do like compared to just speaking to people and being outgoing, how is your behavior different specifically in the context of women?
Shit, I don't know, man. Sometimes I don't even know what to say. And it's almost like I've even I can remember this shit like when I met my kid, my boy's mom. She was very pretty to me, and I put her up on a pedestal. Come to find out that motherfucker lying and all shit, but but I put her up on the pedestal and put him up too high on a pedestal.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there are times where I did that as well, and I think
Mhm.
that's quite common for guys because, the thing is, especially these days in school, you don't really learn. They don't teach you like here's how you interact with a woman. So when you see an attractive girl that you want to speak to, it's a bit of a hypnotizing experience. Your mind just disappears for a few seconds and then you come back and you're like, okay, how do I start the conversation? So I think it's interesting in the sense that when it comes to communicating with women, because as men, we're attracted to the way they look, we get a lot more nervous from the get-go. Whereas I
Mhm.
think women have more insecurities deeper into the relationship. Like, is this guy going to commit to me? Or am I good enough for him? Whereas as men, we have more insecurities initiating the process because we're more focused on the looks itself.
Mhm.
Yeah, it makes
So,
sense. Makes sense. So let me ask you this. Ege, I know before we got on here live, you told me that you've been doing this about 3 years. So before
Yeah.
that, what was your profession?
Yeah. So I used to be a software engineer. I did a few internships. I completed a computer science degree. And what I found out was I liked engineering, but I also wanted to do something that was more direct with people because the way I found meaning in life was through helping people. And when you write a program, you don't even know who it's helping. No one's
mhm.
seeing it, and you're just like very much in the background. And I was good at that, but if I had to do that every single day, it wouldn't bring me joy. So, as I got deeper into my own journey, I first began coaching with a different company, worked there for a bit. And then around COVID time, things shut down and I had to figure out, okay, what's the next step? And that's when I really focused on building my business, which people find a bit strange because everything was in lockdown. But it
Mhm.
was a great time to build out the foundations of what I did.
So, and I'm sorry, I'm gonna go off a little off subject here, Jay, but I want to ask, man, because I'm interested in this dating shit. So, I've seen some stuff. Do you also deal with breakups? Like, I remember breaking up with this one chick, and
Mhm.
it was this. breakup coach on what to do as far as like a 30-day no contact and all
Mhm.
that stuff, man. Do y'all have clients that y'all deal with for stuff like that?
Yeah, I have clients coming out of breakups. I've coached a few clients who've been through divorces. When it comes to breakups, I think the hardest part is like the no contact. A lot of us know, okay, you probably shouldn't text this person.
Mm-hmm.
But if they've been in your life for so long, it's like your mind tricks you into being like, oh, I just want to check if they're doing okay. Okay, let's send a quick
Yeah.
message. And I think it's a balance of having strong boundaries with yourself, but at the same time, if you mess up every now and then, there's no reason to beat yourself up for it either. Because I think breakups is one of those things where if you're giving advice to your friend, you know what to tell them. But if you're in that situation, what you
Mm-hmm.
tell them may not be exactly what you do yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's easy to tell somebody else what to do than it is
Yeah, yeah.
for you to do yourself. Yeah, a lot
Exactly.
easier. Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
Are
definitely.
you a follow your own advice though, man? I mean, that's one thing I had to ask you since it's easier said than done. Do you follow your own advice when it comes to dating?
Yeah, I'd say most of the time, I
Mm-hmm.
don't think no anyone's perfect 100% of the time. And
Mm-hmm.
I think part of being a coach and what I guess made me kind of stand out for clients I worked with is authenticity of ownership when I don't follow my own advice. So the
Mm-hmm.
reason I was talking about this with you is when I went through a breakup, I knew you shouldn't text a girl, but I still did every now and then.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then at some point, you're like, okay, I really shouldn't text this girl and just let myself and let her move on. And I think as a coach, you're in this unique position almost where every experience becomes a learning experience, which
Mm-hmm.
then you can use to teach someone else. So I think like it's good to have this ideal version of who we are, but at the same time, own up to what happened or what we did if we're not living up to that person and say, hey, I messed up here, but I
Mm-hmm.
learned from it. And that type of self honesty is very important, I think.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
So
uh,
let's say, go
I'm
ahead,
gonna
Jay.
I'm
Go
gonna
ahead.
let Frank keep getting some advice from you. I see he's really
This is
interested.
my episode. This is my
in-
episode right
This
here,
is
AK.
a
So,
self-help
Right.
for Frank the Tank. But I'm
Yeah, this
kind
is
of
a coaching
curious.
session with Frank.
Yeah, it is. We should just label this. Let's help Frank. You know, let's see what we can do. But I'm just kind of curious, like,
Mhm.
I know folks change careers and things of that nature for whatever reason, sometimes by
Mhm.
force, sometimes by choice. But you went from a software engineer
Mhm.
to a dating coach. Those are like worlds apart if you think of the
mhm.
Yeah.
types of jobs. So what made you want to do the dating coach thing?
Yeah, I knew how much my life had changed through the journey I was on. So when I first began, um, the first thing that was very impactful in my life was losing weight because I grew up in Turkey and Turkish food's amazing. So when I was a kid, I was eating way too much and I was playing video games, not going to the gym. And Turkish culture is like very friendly, but it's definitely not sexual. So you
Oh shit!
don't
I
know
bet
how
they
to
pretty over there, man. Oh shit. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's like you learn how to be friendly with people, but you have no idea how to interact with women, and women have no idea how to interact with men. So I grew up there, came to the US for college, and it was a bit of a culture shock. And at that point, I learned like I had lost the weight. I looked like within a normal range. And I still had fears around socializing and meeting women. And throughout my college journey is when I really tackled those fears. And at some point, I got to a place where I was going on dates with women that me from 2 years ago would have looked at and been like, there is no way this girl would ever look at you, bro.
Oh yeah.
And every time that happened, my mind opened up even more. And I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I used to believe there's no way this was possible. But now it's happening. What I thought was impossible is right in front of me. And as that kept happening more and more, I was like, every guy should experience this, because so many times we're held back by our mind, what we believe is possible. And we never question that. And to me, that was the core of the dating coaching. I wanted to find an avenue for men where they can really step into who they want to be by speaking to women they're intimidated by. And of course, getting some dates, but it was never about the woman. It was about who they wanted to become, because this whole process had changed me into a completely different person. And that's when I realized I wanted to switch into the coaching, because I knew how impactful this was for my life. And I wanted to play a part in the journey of men who wanted to do the same, but just didn't know how to do it.
That's what's up, man.
You hear that, Frank? You hear that? Since we're trying to help you out.
You know, I will tell you what I just found is I'm just finding myself and being me. I enjoy that. And if that attracts, that's what I'm using to attract any woman in my life. So I don't want to be fake. I ain't gonna be fake about it. Let me ask you this though, Ege.
Yeah.
In a dating world, how long do you think you should date somebody before you are like, you know what? Yeah, this ain't gonna work between us. I need to go ahead and end that.
Yeah, I think that's a very good question. It depends on the situation, really. And I'd say depends on your personality type as well. Like, I'm a very intuitive, feeling-based person. So usually if I'm getting along with someone, I will know quite quickly, especially with what I do. I've met so many people that my radar is quite quick. But I think for other people it takes more time. A principle that I give to clients I work with is, if you feel like you need to sell yourself into the situation to keep seeing this person, then you probably shouldn't be in that situation.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going on a date and instead of being excited, you're like, oh, I need to do all these things and deal with this drama and do this and do that. You know, the drama comes when you're in a relationship. If you're
Right.
just dating, there shouldn't be much
Should be a
drama.
whole lot of drama. Yeah.
Things should be smooth sailing. And I think that's the test you can work with and go, oh, okay, am I excited to see this person? Or is there a part of me that's like, okay, well, do I really need to do this? And you can also ask yourself, would I spend time with this person for a few hours if I wasn't trying to sleep with them?
Yeah, is
And
this
that
person
will give you
really
the
getting on
answer.
my nerves? And do I just want to hit it? Or is this person just get on my nerves? And do I
Right.
want to spend a relationship or a long period of time with this chick or this dude, whatever?
Yeah, I think if you could spend time with them and without sex being involved, that may be a good sign. If you actually just like being around them without the thought of
Yeah.
sex taking place.
Well, shit, you may get friend zoned in that aspect though. So
No, I'm not saying don't lead for it, but it's a good theoretical question. Practically, after 30 minutes, Frank, I know you're just going for it.
yeah, how do you not get friend zoned? You know, how do men and women not fall into a friend zone?
Man, I don't know. Like, I used to be in the friend zone a lot, and I think the core switch is when you truly own yourself, people either love you or they just don't resonate. So what I found is, the more authentic you are, the quicker people either come into your world or they just want to get out. They don't really resonate. And I think a lot of men find themselves in the friend zone because they're not owning what they want. They don't feel like what they want is what they can say they want. And women can feel when you're doing certain things, but you don't really mean it. Maybe you're like, oh, going to all these fancy places, but all you want is to sleep with her.
Well, shit,
So
some women don't like, I mean, some women are like,
mm,
if you tell them what you want and how you want it and how you like it, a lot of them will run away too. So,
it's all depending on, how quickly that is. I'm not saying, all right, let's just go to a bar and start with that. Um, but
hey,
I think
I like to put you up against the wall and bang your brains out. By the way, my name is Frank.
yeah,
Nothing like, don't start a conversation like that.
See, and
yeah.
this is where the help Frank part of the show comes in. See, you're saying you telling Frank to be authentic and be himself, and that in itself can be a bit much for somebody.
That's
He
funny.
has to tame it down a tad bit in the early home
Yeah.
because some folks are not ready for what Frank's trying to bring to them. They just
Right?
not.
I don't
Yeah,
think
I don't.
Frank ready.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's fun.
so yeah, it's a challenge. So let me ask you this: what are your typical types of clients that you deal with, and what
Mhm.
kind of issues they have usually?
Yeah, usually I work with guys who are more on the analytical spectrum. Like they like programs, they like Excel sheets, they like to optimize stuff. So a lot of entrepreneurs, accountants, engineers, lots of engineers resonate with me since I used to be one. So I can
Mhm.
kind of put concepts in a way that would resonate with them. And I'd say the core problem people come in with is, first of all, men want to know that they have what it takes. Like we all have this idea of our ideal self. And whether we tell this to other people or not, there's this concept that I was chatting with my friend about where the boss is always watching. Like your unconscious mind knows when you did something you wanted to do versus when you didn't. Even if your friends don't notice, even if your family doesn't notice, when you want to speak to a girl, but you don't do it, your unconscious mind takes a note. And men want to know, like, okay, I want to actually take this opportunity. So a lot of guys come in from a surface level with the struggle of, hey, I'm not dating the woman that I want. But the deep desire, the deeper problem is they're not living up to the version of themselves that they want to be. And there's multiple problems along the way, like they don't know how to approach. If they do, they don't know how to hold the conversation the way they want to. Or maybe they go on a date, but nothing happens. So I think those are more the symptoms of the problem, but the core problem is they're not living up to the version of themselves that they want to be.
That's I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
You know, Ege, you mentioned the whole like Hitch comparison before, and
Right.
before we got on this, this podcast, I was just imagining a dating coach like Hitch with a little earpiece. He's outside the room and he's giving the guy things to say, like,
Tell her.
now tell her about her hair. Now smile and nod. Don't do that. Don't do this. Sit still. So you don't actually go out with people and watch them interact, do you? Or how's that work?
Yeah, there have been times where I took clients out. Um,
Mhm.
these days I don't go to bars anymore. I like to meet people during the day, so sometimes we'll go out together. And like I'll see what they're doing in conversation. I'll listen into their conversation a bit, but not like in an FBI spy type of way with a camera or a mic, where it's more like you have a wingman that you can come back to who can also
Mhm.
give you really efficient, effective feedback. But that's a very small part of what I do because a lot of the work we do is not just in person, it's also through Zoom. Like we have clients around the world and we have a whole program that we get people through. So the in person stuff is a small part of it because that does help in that one context. But what really helps from a higher level perspective is setting their lives on point, working with those belief systems, and then teaching them principles they can use to interact with women so that, the problem with giving people directions is they're always going to need you to be there. And I don't want that. So instead of telling them what to do, I give them a framework that they can look at things by. And then over a few months, they take that out in the real world, get some reference experience, see some results for themselves. And by the end of that process, they can use this framework relatively effectively to figure out, like, okay, what am I going to do in my life moving forward?
So like for your clients, right? If we're working on building their belief system, getting their mindset right. So they come to you and they're struggling with themselves, right? And it is perpetuated in them having trouble meeting women. So what are some of the things you do for them? Are there drills? Are there books? What do you do to actually work on their own self-confidence?
Yeah, the first thing I'll do is we have 4 principles. The first principle is relaxation. So most men, when they get into a conversation with women, they're listening more into what's going on in their head rather than what the woman's saying. If they were to fully listen to what the woman's saying, it would be a lot easier to have a conversation.
Well, women be lying, man.
Huh?
They be lying. Them chicks be lying though. So how do you combat that shit?
He said relaxation, dog. That was step
Oh, okay.
one. You gotta
Okay.
relax. Like your boy say, relax. And
Yeah,
once
you
you
tell them to
relax,
relax too.
yeah, relax. And then what's the next thing?
Yeah, so first it's about relaxing into the situation. And that happens by understanding that whatever thoughts are in your brain, they're just one form of input. Like your body is another form of input. So getting more into the present moment and looking at, instead of what's going on in my brain, where do I actually feel tense in my body? Like
Mhm.
you guys have experienced this probably, and I've experienced this many times myself, where sometimes like a woman walks into a bar and your chest just like contracts and you're like, oh, she's hot. I don't know what to do.
Mhm. Mhm.
So setting the intention to relax that, just being like, okay, it's fine. All right, relax, breathe into it. And really slowing down, like slowing down speech, slowing down movements, and then going into the conversation with that energy, it's just a lot more relaxed. And that's what first women pick up on. Like if you're a guy who's completely relaxed around women, unconsciously, this is telling them this guy must be used to being around women like me without you having to say anything. So
Mhm.
that's the first foundation. And then we focus on expression. So, how do you express yourself without holding back, but also without trying to impress? And a good way to look at that is looking at what are the things you are censoring, what are the things you're holding back, and why are you doing that? So, maybe you want to make a funny joke, but you think, she's going to think that's stupid. Let's not say that.
Mhm.
So it's like getting more comfortable expressing that, but from a place of empathy, which is when it comes down to this idea of calibration and not being like, hey, you're hot. Let's just go back to my place. Probably not the best way to start a conversation.
Yeah, I was gonna say Frank has no problem with expression. That's not, he'll express himself. That's not a problem. Now, I
That's
don't know
right.
I'm
Frank,
very shy, man. I
but he'll
don't know what he's
express
talking about. I'm
himself.
very shy.
Oh yeah, no, him shy.
Mhm. So, man, what's your opinion on things like internet dating? Do
Yeah.
you feel like they work more than meeting somebody just out on at the grocery store or at a bar?
Yeah, it depends on what you mean by do they work. Will they get you dates? Yeah, they can, depending on how you look and what your pictures are and all of that.
Mhm.
I'm not I don't focus too much on online dating. Like I've done it, I've gotten results from it. I don't use the apps anymore
Mhm.
because I think it's very easy to get comfortable. And I think every man chooses what they stand for. And if we want to stand for something, we also need to choose things that we don't stand for. And most men, what happens for them is like, because they have the apps, on a surface level, they think, oh, I have other options, but they're not getting results from the apps, so they don't. But they feel like they have options. And that prevents them from going up and speaking to that girl in the coffee shop, in the grocery store. Whereas my approach is a bit more militant in the sense that you don't have other options anymore. You either approach this woman or you're not meeting woman. Which one do you want? And that really pushes people to take action. I think you can meet cool people online dating, you can go on some dates. It will get you that kind of surface level metric of, yeah, oh, I've been on some dates, but it's not going to get you the satisfaction of, I made this happen. I saw this girl I wanted to speak to. I walked over, had a conversation, went on a date with her, and now I'm seeing her. That's a different journey. And
but man, but wait a sec though, man. What if you okay? Let's say I'm at the grocery store. I see this chick,
right.
see this woman. I'm gonna stop calling. You're not a chick, lady. I see this woman, and she's an employee there. She's at my grocery store that I frequent. I like her. I want to go and approach her. And then let's say we go out on a few dates, and we stop dating. Then I gotta find a different grocery store. Then, man. I mean, what?
Well, that's why, like, if you frequent a place regularly, I would keep it a bit more calibrated. And usually, like, you can look at a situation and know when someone's interested without having to know verbally. Like, if you just have a conversation from the way they react. But when it comes to places like, the gym or somewhere you really like I love going to the gym. It has a basketball court. I don't want to get kicked out. And even if like I meet someone there and things do work out, just like what you said, what if they end at some point? I love my gym. I'd rather work out there than meet a girl there. So it's picking the places you go to. And that could be, a different grocery store, a coffee shop, or even walking around downtown. Maybe you see someone you like, and just really owning that interest. Like, hey, I was walking to the grocery store. I thought it looked very nice. I wanted to come speak to you. People really respect honesty. And I think when a lot of guys think about approaching women during the day, they're like, oh, they think I'm going to be creepy or I'm going to be catcalling them. But if it can be done in a calibrated way, women just love it because no one's doing it.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go, Frank. There you go. So
yeah, Frank, I'm going to wait for updates after this episode for that approach.
I'll try that this weekend. I'll go somewhere that I don't free, maybe Big Lots or something. Just be like, hey, I think that you look very pretty. What's your name and what's your number? Let's bang tonight. No, I won't say that.
Bang, 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 bang.
Bang, 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 bang. No.
That's
Ege, the dating coach, taught me.
He told me to do this.
Right. You're like, we interviewed some guy on the podcast episode and he told me exactly what to do. So let's bang tonight.
Yeah. It said find the finest woman I can ever find and just go to her like, hey, you and me tonight. What's up?
Tonight. He said that's a 99% success rate. Now let's go.
That's funny.
But when you do work with clients though, Ege, you're helping them along this journey. How do you measure success? What's the outcome you're hoping for with these men you're working with?
Yeah, most men want to eventually get into a relationship. It's so funny with guys, everyone comes in thinking, yeah, I want to be a playboy and date all these women. And then they date around for a bit and they go, actually, I want a girlfriend. So a lot of the time, people come in with that end goal in mind, but they need the experience to pick the girlfriend they're with. Like very few men consciously pick, okay, I want this woman to be my girlfriend, rather than in a random way finding themselves in a relationship with a girl that they just thought was hot and they slept with, and now it's kind of like they're dating. So I'd say that's the end game for a lot of guys. Some guys just want more experience, so that could be going on a date a week, couple of dates a week, seeing where that goes. But usually I find that people lean into a long-term relationship, and a lot of the success is not the tangible stuff, but it's the intangible. And I think a lot of the intangible success is how confident are you in your ability to see a girl you like and to be able to approach her with 80% of likelihood that you're going to start the conversation. Because no one approaches like 100% of the woman they see. Like if I see a girl 3 streets away, I'm not going to run across and try to stop her. Back in the days, I did, but I'm too lazy for that now.
Ma'am, Miss Ma'am, I just ran down
You
this way
took my breath
just to
away.
say hi.
Yeah.
You dropped something. Oh, my heart. Oh,
Yeah. Oh, you know what? Ege, that's a good question. Do you think, in your opinion, pickup lines work?
That's such a conversation. I mean, they can. I think it's all about energy. Like
Yes.
if there's something that makes you have fun and be playful, of course
Hmm.
it can work. But there are also no magic pills, and everyone will have different things that they find funny. So if
Hmm.
you think, hey, you drop something, my heart, and that really makes you laugh and puts you in a playful state,
Hmm.
the woman you're speaking to will feel that. But it's more about the vibe that you're bringing in rather than the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And depends on the woman too. I know that. So.
yeah. Put it in your pocket, Frank. You might need to use that later on.
Yeah.
That was on me.
Yeah.
so, so Egg, I know you have this business as a dating coach, but I also know that you have a podcast now that you're doing. So,
Hmm.
what do you guys do on the podcast? Is it the same thing or is it something different?
Yeah. So we started the podcast early this year, mainly to share some of the tools that we coach people on inside our mentorship. Because what I found was we're in this age of information where there's so much information out there. And a lot of the stuff people need to do is just out there for free. So we don't really have a knowledge problem, but men are still struggling to transform their lives. And not just men, people in general. Like if we want to get in shape, we all know we need to hit the gym, drink good water, eat healthy food, but most people are not within a healthy range. So the reason we put out that podcast was twofold. The first part is because we truly wanted to help people get whatever information that they needed to make a transformation in their dating life. But the second reason was if someone came to me and said, "Hey, my only problem is this," then I'll go, "Okay, well, check out this podcast episode." And then 2 weeks later, if they're still stuck, then I'm like, "Well, you have what you need. Why are you still stuck? What's the real problem?" Because usually the real problem is never the lack of information, it's a lack of commitment to actually make a change. So we wanted to create this source of information where people would have to face their lack of commitment if they're stuck. But if they do have commitment to make a change, then they have every resource they need to make that change.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I do know that you're in Austin. So
Mm.
how do people find you when they're looking for the dating coach?
Yeah, so if you go to a bar and there's a guy with a mic and black sunglasses hiding in the corner.
with his shirt down, showing all his chest hair.
That's funny. Yeah, that's not gonna be me. That's probably my older brother who's hiding in the corner. Um, but yeah, usually people find me just on Facebook, Ege Reynolds, Instagram at Real Charming Man, YouTube at The Charming Man. I have some clients in Austin, but I also have clients in different parts of the world. So people don't need to be in Austin to do work with me. But funny enough, sometimes like I'm out in a social setting and I meet guys and they're like, "Oh, what do you do?" I'm like, "Oh, I do this." And they're like, "Oh, that makes sense." So I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten clients from just being at a bar randomly in the past, which was quite funny.
I heard that I mean, Austin is a huge dating market too.
Oh yeah, Austin's a very transient city. There's a lot
Mhm.
of people who come in and who go, and it's getting busier and busier more recently. So I think for a lot of men in bigger cities, when there's a lot of young people coming in, the dating market gets a bit more competitive. So that was part of the reason I moved here was I knew there was business opportunity and I knew that there were guys who on surface had whatever they needed, the career, the finances, the looks, the status, whatever it is, who still struggled to communicate with women they wanted to communicate with. And the good thing about Austin is, if you like hipster woman, there's hipster woman. If you like more career woman, there's career woman. So there's something for anyone. And I think Houston's same in that sense where like there's a lot of variety of people and cultures and all that. And to me that keeps things more fun. I like meeting people from different backgrounds.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Frank, how's the dating in your part like? Like what's
Yeah.
the Let's
You
hear
know
about
what?
some of your stories.
You know what? To be honest with you, man, I'm so involved with my daughter's life right now. She's 15 years old and she lives with me. So
Oh,
and she plays competitive softball, competitive soccer, and she plays both sports for her
wow.
school. So I'm normally in dad mode before I'm even in dating mode.
Right.
I know that now getting further away from daddy because she wants to go out with her friends. So I always look to date. But one of my things is I'm of that cut them off quick if
Yeah.
if it's not working. If I don't like the things that you don't like and you don't like the things I don't like, there's no need for us to even beat around the bush in 6 months or a year down the line. Let's go ahead and nip it in the bud within 2-3 months. Let's get it out. So, but that's the problem that I have. I think like a friend of mine said that I'm looking for the perfect woman. I'm not looking for the perfect woman. I'm just looking for a woman that's perfect for me.
Right.
Um, is that a thing?
Yeah, it can be. It can be.
Yeah.
But
I
what's
mean,
what? Go ahead. Go ahead, Ege.
it's good to have high standards, I think, as long as those standards also apply to who we are. Like I think what
Yeah.
you're doing is great, right? Because it's much better to have high standards than settle into a relationship, waste a couple of years of your life only to realize this is not who I wanted to be with in the first place. And I
Hmm.
think there may be a big part of that you realizing that is because you have a daughter and your life is just very busy, and I
Hmm.
feel like sometimes other people have too much free time, so they just want someone to appear to fill that free time with
Right.
rather than being conscious about who they want in their lives.
That's true. What do you think about dating like a mini? Like I've shied away from women that are like me, a woman's version of me, and I can't
Hmm.
have it. I don't want another me. You know.
Hmm.
I just I don't know. What do you think about that?
You mean dating women who have kids, or
No,
or
no, just like my personality.
hmm
I see that some men will a lot of people will say opposites attract, but how do you not date someone who's too much of an opposite than you, but also not as much as much like you as
right.
you are, you know?
Have you ever taken the Myers-Briggs test? Do you know your personality type?
Yeah, I've taken it before. I don't remember what it said though.
Yeah, so based on what you get for that, you can look
Mhm.
at that, and there's certain types you'll be more compatible with. Um, are you more organized in your life, or are things a bit more all over the place?
No, everywhere, man, for me. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So Yeah, I mean, there are ways to figure it out. It's hard for me to figure it out on the spot. I'd have to
Mhm.
speak to you longer. But if you have those results, then you can just Google like Myers-Briggs compatibility, and then
Mhm.
you'll be more compatible with certain women who are somewhat similar but somewhat opposite. So usually the Myers-Briggs test has like 4 letters, and 2 of them will be the same and 2 of them will be different. So for example, my personality is an INFJ, which means I'm naturally more introverted, I'm more intuitive, I make decisions based on feelings rather than
Mhm.
thinking. And then J is like you're more structured and ordered in your outside life, but your mind can get a bit chaotic. So
Mm.
for me, the most compatible type in women is an ENFP, which is extroverted, still intuitive, still feeling based, and P is like a bit more artistic, a bit more spontaneous, all over the place. And the reason for that is it balances out. Like if I'm introverted and the woman I'm with is also very introverted, we're just going to sit in the same house, not have a conversation. But when someone's more extroverted, I can ask them a question and they can speak
Mhm.
for 5 minutes, and then I ask them another question and they speak for another 5 minutes.
But how you tell them to shut the
That
fuck
balance.
up? Shit, y'all talking too much.
Yeah, then if you don't want them to talk, then
Yeah,
you go for the introverts.
yeah, yeah. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
I do think opposites do. There is things I think opposites attract, and
Mhm.
there are some good things about opposites, like you just said. If you're more introverted, person you are with is extroverted, it's a good balance. They can carry the conversation a lot more. When you're out in public
Mhm.
and meet people where you would never meet people, so it's a
Yeah.
it's a good balance. Like you said, if
Yeah.
one's more artsy, you're more structured. It also kind of works out as well too.
What about you and your woman, Wood? I mean, what are y'all? What are y'all together? Y'all, you the one
No,
to
we're
talk too
opposites.
much?
No, we're
Okay.
opposites. Yeah,
Okay.
she's more artistic. I'm not. Um,
Hmm.
she's definitely extroverted. I'm not. Um, so
It depends on how many whiskeys you got in you.
hey,
Hey,
wait a
enough
minute.
whiskeys
There's an
makes everyone
asterisk by
extrovert.
that. There's introverted slash whiskey birded. If I'm whiskey birded, now I'm Hollywood, hood with no good. But if I'm sober, I'm a little J, just run away. So that's a different
How many
personality depending on,
whiskeys is the crossing point for you?
yeah,
Yeah,
When does
yeah,
it
yeah.
cross?
yeah. How many shots did I had, but
How many?
Yeah.
How many does it take for you?
Yeah.
how many what for me?
Before Bruce Banner turns into Hulk Hogan, how many shots does it take?
Before I go, woo!
Yeah, before Ric Flair comes out.
Man, I don't know, man. It just depends on what I'm drinking, but it may be a few before I can get loose after a few,
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, and just get comfortable. So, but
Mm.
but yeah, it's like I said, that get loose juice, as they call
Yeah.
it. Yeah. But Ege, this is a great conversation, man. I appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. And
Yeah, it's been very good. Good to speak to you guys.
like I
Frank,
said,
take that test and I can send you some like things on how to make the most of it.
With
Um,
that, man,
there you
I
go.
actually just pulled it out while we were talking, so I'm gonna take it this evening. So
He said it was
I'll
a
see.
perfect.
self-help for Frank. So yeah, let's see if you're gonna take
Yeah.
your advice, Ege, and get
See if
some
I can get a relationship that sticks. Shit, something.
something,
Yeah,
or a friend or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah,
But like I said, Ege, I'm gonna reach out to you on IG from our
perfect,
account so we can link up and
perfect.
hang out for a second while you end this thing. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So with that, we got the dating coach, Ege Reynolds.
Yes.
We got Frank the Tank, aka Mr. Sensitive, and we got Little J, aka Whiskey Verdict.
I like
Kings
that.
can move on, y'all. We out.
Hey. Yeah.
D-Town, LA, NO, Florida, Mississippi, KC, MO. KC, MO. KC, Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Show 'em what you stand for. Chi-Town, Tennessee, Carolinas, Alabama, Oakland, St. Louis, Detroit, Atlanta. Show 'em what you stand for.